Hi everyone. Welcome to the Regular Expressions regex series in Google Sheets. Now, in the previous videos, I kind of walked you through the anchors and the introduction to the different three different functions that we can use for regular expressions. So I wanted to expand your horizons a little bit and take a look at three meta characters. Actually, more than these, but I'm going to take these three because I think that they're all important, but these I think the ones that you're probably going to see a lot of if you're doing anything with regular expressions in Google Sheets. They are the dot notation. Then there is the pipe notation and the backslash, which I have covered in a previous video, so it'll be familiar to you. Now, regarding the dot notation, it's basically just you're using a dot, and what this says is it matches any single character except a new line. A new line is also known as a return character when you press the enter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through different exercises regarding each of these three different meta characters, so you have some sort of an understanding. And of course, it's all about playing around with it and getting to know a little bit more about these characters. So in this case, I have a regular expression match that I wanted to test with what's in, I think, 8.2. I'm going to put this as 8.2. And what we're seeing here, hold on a second. So in this case, when you look at this, of course, you see G dot D is the criteria. So it's looking for something between G and D. It doesn't have to be the beginning or end, it just has to be present, something with G and D. So let's go ahead and test it, and this should come out false. Exactly. So why did it come out false? Remember, I mentioned this and I'll keep mentioning it. Regular expressions are case sensitive. So if I want something that has a has a capital in it, I have to explicitly tell it look for a capital G for D. However, in this case, remember, we're also looking for a single character here. This one has two characters here. So what we're going to do is, in this case, looking for Z, O, D. So it really is looking for that one particular character. What we can do, there's a little bit of a workaround, and I'm kind of getting ahead here, but when I look at this, I'm like, well, if I can go with pipe and then go from there, this would still be true. And if I were to actually go in here, this would still be true. I'll get to pipe in a minute, but that's just a little trick, and I'll explain what that means later on. So we've done that. You can also use the dot notation when you're talking about taking out numbers from a particular block of text. So in this case, we're going to go through and do it piece by piece, because I'm going to show you a very basic, it's a very basic way to do this. There are way more complicated paths to this, but it's a very basic way to do this, and then a quick workaround of how you can work this out. Points to you if you recognize the number. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract some numbers from this, and I'll show you what happens. So in this case, you'll see that it extracts the first three numbers from this. So let's break this down. This D notation and slash D and slash small d are actually representing digits. In fact, small d is what you'll find if you're looking for numbers. Big D is if you're looking for anything besides numbers. So they're the opposite of each other. In this case, I wanted to extract the first three numbers, which are usually the area code. And, of course, if you're dealing with international calling codes, there's a little bit more of a modification that we'll do, and that's a little bit more complicated, and that we'll deal with that in another course. But in this case, we're talking about the area code. Now, if I wanted to extract that entire number, what would I do? Well, it's just a matter of really appending all the different pieces to it to get that to work. Okay, let me show you what I mean. Okay, in this case, I wanted to go ahead and take out this. So we're going to add this to the end. And we're going to add this to the end. And that should be... There we go. Now, of course, here's the problem. It gives us the numbers, but it gives it to us in 3 different cells. We don't want it in 3 different cells. So what do? Quick thing to do, and regular expressions work with a lot of other functions, and they come in extremely handy, is that we can actually use a concatenate. Excuse me. A concatenate function to basically make sure that everything comes out in one. Right there. Simple enough. But as you can see, you can use the regular regex extract and this notation of the /d with the dot notation to take out numbers from a block of text. And you can actually just tell it, okay, ignore everything else that is not a number, including the dashes, including maybe you have, some pipes or dots or whatever. Just ignore everything else, and then just give me the numbers. And then when you realize, okay, I'm going to give it in separate cells, okay, concatenate and put it in one cell. Then you can go ahead and you can format this number however you need to format it. Some of us, whenever we're dealing with data, we're not lucky enough to get anything like this, but if we are, this will definitely work. So again, this formula is just basically, it's telling it, okay, take a look at A4. Then take a look at anything that is not a digit. The asterisk is another metacharacter, which we'll go over in another lesson. And then basically show me the digits, all the digits, the clump of digits that are coming together. And then again, take out anything else that you may see as far as anything that is not a digit. And then you keep doing that until you get the iteration that matches what you're looking for. And again, this is something simple where I know what I'm kind of looking for, and in certain cases you do. But there are, to get something that you're not really expecting, you're not really able to put into a neat formula, that's a more complex formula, and we'll get into that in another lesson, because I'm very sure that one will be very handy for those of you who are dealing with unstructured data that is coming to you from many different directions in many different forms. Okay. Now, when it comes to dealing with the email addresses, again, another situation where you may not get a full email address, and you may be sitting there going, okay, how do I know if I've got a whole bunch of data? How do I know this? Well, here comes regex match to let you know. You can actually use extract and replace with this, but fundamentally, let's take a look at what this formula will do. Now, we're familiar, this is an anchor, the anchor of the caret. The anchor of the caret is the beginning. So at the beginning of this, or however you want it, in this case it is the beginning, we're going to take a look at anything, and again, a plus is another metacharacter which we'll go into in another lesson. Take a look at any one character, and then any other characters after that, but that precede the ampersand. And then take a look at any characters after that that precede like a .com, right? And make sure that .com is at the end of the line in this case. So when we go ahead and we equal, we're going to get false. So that tells us that this is not a complete email address, which comes in handy, especially when you're trying to figure out what you're trying to, which email addresses are. If you've got like 1,000 email addresses, you can't exactly go through manually and say, okay, this one, this one, this one. This makes it a whole lot simpler, and you can even use other functions within Google Sheets to just extract those and print them out, and that's it. You're safe from all that manual work. Now, if I were to go ahead and put in the .com, that becomes true. Now, what if I were to come in and put in a .net? Oops, excuse me. that was not what I meant. Yes. Right here, if I were to put in a .net, it becomes false because, well, it's actually looking explicitly for .com. So again, going ahead in this in the lesson, I know, because we do have I think over 400 extensions at this point. So simple enough, if you're looking for .com or .net, you just basically put the pipe in and it works. And again, I'll explain the pipe in a minute. So this is basically another workaround that you can play around with. Remember, it doesn't have to be the beginning. You can take out this part where it's the beginning. You can take out this part at the end. But if you want to actually be able to match or extract or replace anything resembling what should be a good email address, you can go ahead and play around with this formula. Now, when it comes to dealing with URLs, it's roughly the same thing. It's roughly a similar thing. So let's go ahead and take a look at this formula. HTTPS question mark. Now, the question mark, again, is another metacharacter which we'll go into. And this is where we take a look at whether it's HTTP or HTTPS. So this, because I put this question mark here, it will cover it. It will cover both formulas, which I think most of our email or most of our URLs now, I think they're forcing us to go into HTTPS, which I find it's okay. It's safer. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at colon, backslash, so that's the format. Anything between that, if there's like a W2 or whatever, no problem. Or if there's a www. So I kind of gave away what pipe is. The pipe is an OR function. And then anything after that. So in this case, when we take a look at it, it comes out with whatever.com. Okay, and that's actually pretty simple. It comes out even if it's .net, whatever it is. Because I have this, I didn't really bind the extension. I can come up with anything .co.uk, .co, .store, .blog, whatever it is. So it'll come up. It'll just extract anything that looks like a URL from a bulk of text. Simple enough. Now, as I mentioned, this is the pipe itself is an OR function. It's a logical OR function. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually, let me take this out right here. Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if I'm looking at if there's red or blue in this. So I'm going to go equal. So if there's a red or blue, now you can encase that regex match in an if function if you want to do something. So if red or blue is present, then put in, in stock. If you're doing stocks of certain items and you need a certain color. So this one, the pipe puts in red or blue. So if we actually put in, okay, again, let's test this, yellow. So it's going to come out false, right? Why does it come out false? Again, case sensitive. So we want to make sure that we have yellow upper or lower case, right? So let's go with yellow pipe Y. And it comes up. A little workaround with the pipe does save us a lot of time. And that's why it is one of those really, it's like the undo button in a way. Very great invention when it comes to dealing with regular expressions. So backslash is known as the literal character. So let's take a look at this again. So equals regex match. And I wanted to take a look at this one because this one's got the question mark, and I did that on purpose, obviously. Comma. And I wanted to look at the word gold with the question mark. So if I was searching for something specific, so I go gold, and then put backslash, question mark, and then close it up. So what this is telling regular expressions, or what's telling Google Sheets, is that I want that literal question mark. I'm not using it as a meta character. I just want the literal question mark. So to recap, we have the dot notation, which matches any single character, the pipe, which is a literal, an OR, and then the backslash, which is the literal.